in which room? Ask for, you can take roll call
Carlos Hernandez,
here.
Teri Gishik,
Here.
Shane Drift,
Here.
Harry Drift,
Inshallah, papaya.
Robert Moore.
Here. This time I ask for this council to review the agenda. See if there's going to be any need for additions or deletions.
I'd like to add something to the agenda. I'd like to add the, after Perry Drift, I'd like to add the, vice chairmanship to the agenda. Thank you.
Any more additions or deletions?
Mr. Chair, I have two additions to the agenda. The first is a wild rice update that I can read from Chris Holm. And the second is resolution number 2026 regarding financial information reclassification.
And those will be added under yours. Any more additions or deletions? Offer a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the vice chairmanship, wild rice update, and the 2026 financial info reclassification.
Move.
Moved by Shane,
Second.
second by Robert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oh. Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. First item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes. Should we start out with June 10th, 2025? You get a chance to review these prior?
While the council is reviewing meeting minutes, I would like to let the audience know, both in person as well as online, that we will be taking a recess just before 10 o'clock today. The council does have a meet and greet with a couple of senators that they're going to be going to for a bit, maybe an hour, not quite sure. And once they return, then the meeting will proceed at that point. So just wanted to let everybody know that we will be taking a break just before 10 o'clock today. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. It is Senator Housechild and Senator Murphy. Senator Murphy. You're welcome.
Well, I'll move to approve the June 10th meeting minutes.
Moved by Robert. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. All right, next on to the July 2nd meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Shane,
Second.
second by Robert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried for July 2nd. Next is approval of July 16th meeting minutes.
Move to approve July 16th meeting minutes.
Moved by Robert,
Second.
second by Perry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
So on the consent agenda, under letter A, Cannabis Regulatory Commission Resolution number 1-2026, revisions to bans action limits for cannabis testing. Vote was 4-0-0. Letter B, resolution number 16-2026, revision to tribal traffic code. The vote was 4-0-0. Letter C, approval of 2025 per capita amount and statement. The vote was 4-0-0. And finally, letter D, approval to submit grant application for the AEOA/IRRR BER grant for Fortune Bay. Vote was 4-0-0.
Question on, the first one, letter A, Cannabis Regulatory Commission Resolution 1-2026 revisions to bans action limits for cannabis testing. Now, is this the limits that we raised or lowered to accommodate purchasing from Red Lake?
We lowered the standards to meet kind of the state guidelines, which enabled us to be able to buy more product from Red Lake that was previously unattainable because our limits were too strict. That's pretty much how it went.
Thank you. I just want to make that clarification. Because with our testing limits, we need to basically alter them, move them so they can buy more products for Ushkaday. And with White Earth branching out on their own with more and more dispensaries, they just opened up one in St. Cloud. So they're pushing more products to their dispensaries. And so that started to limit what we could sell at ours. So we had to move the testing limits so that we could buy more products for our dispensary. So that's why that happened. Another thing too, I'd like to point out for letter D, letter C, the per capita payment. Now, for the last 2 years, the previous 2 years, we, the Bushwick Band, had received an increase from the state with our per capita regarding our per capita payments. And that's why they were basically well over $1,000 each. But because of the budget cuts on the state side, the tribal council tried to push for another increase. But the state could not do it because of the budget cuts. Now, what happened was that they balanced their budget this year. And if you recall reading in the news, Facebook, whatever, is that they were looking to head off a deficit that's going to be hitting probably, they projected, I think, 2028, a huge deficit. So they're trying to also stop that. And they made a lot of cuts this year to try and head them off. Now, their balance being, their budget being balanced, the Trump administration cuts are starting to come through. And we don't know what that's going to do to their budget, if it's going to knock it out of whack again. And if it does, two things they might have to do. One, increase revenue on their end, or make more cuts. Now, my concern is that if the tribal council, whether it be this tribal council or the new tribal council next year, tries to push for another increase, it may not go through. That's something to be wary of. Also, that the state aid monies that we get from the state is not mandatory. It's not a requirement by law. If the state has to cut that, then they're going to have to cut that. That means there'll be less revenue the tribe will have. That's the concern that I have. And I talked about this on my group page numerous times about the CFA funding. The CFA funding was cut by 10%. That went through. So now we as Boys Fort need to come up with that difference to pay that amount, because we're using that amount to pay for a loan for that land that we got, that 28,000 plus acres that we got. We have a loan for that. We got to continue to pay that off. So there's a lot of concerns coming down, with what happens. I just want to point it out. Thank you.
And they were concerned with the $400 difference in per cap from last year to this year, our 1854 payment. Sorry, I didn't mean to say per cap, but that's our 1854 payments, over a $400 difference. Again, my name is Peter Drift, Boysford band member elder. That's the only question I had, because I talked to two elders this morning at Fortune Bay when I was checking out. And I think one was homeless and was trying to get a hold of a council member asking for some services and so forth. And they were concerned with that number. So if it was drastically cut, are we allowed to ask what the state gave us compared to last year? Or is it being used to subsidize your big, beautiful budget for next year? Thank you.
Not at this time. I would like to look at using the per cap payments to help subsidize the programs again, but not this year. A few years ago, the state had negotiated a bigger payment, and that's why the last 2 years, the per caps were bigger. And this year is not one of those 2 years again, and that's why the payment was lower. The last couple of years, we got a bigger payment because it was negotiated. I thought that's what was negotiated. And
Sure. You didn't get that number, or you guys ain't going to share that number. That's what I'm at.
I'm unsure. So you're asking how much
The state gave us last year compared to this year? I mean, are you allowed to give out that number, or is it?
I don't see why not. I just have to,
That's what I was wondering.
I just have to find that
People are going to
information.
ask us why there's a $400 difference in our payments. From people online are saying, we don't need that money. We don't budget for that money. That's people with
Yeah,
funds. But I talked with two elders. One was homeless over at Fortune Bay.
Mhm.
So those are the concerns. I know people, that's my concern. I don't need the money either. So I use it for my grandkids.
okay.
But it's still something, with a high cost of food, living expenses, people off the reservation need that money.
Sounds good. I just thought that this information was shared with everybody a few years ago, and I thought it was common knowledge. And if it's not, I'll try to get some information together to release to everybody, but a few
Thank you.
years ago, this was told to everybody, hey, we got more money for the next 2 years. And that was 3 years ago, so.
Thank you.
Last year we ran out, so this year is just back to the basic money that we get from the state from selling licenses again.
I'm sure in our records, we have the same statement, kind of like the same statement that is put out with the approval of the 2025 per capita amount and statement that comes along with it. It describes what the state gives us, what we get from I can't remember exactly, is it the sales of licenses and everything. So that is actually documented each year, and we can come up with those numbers. It's just different now. The state didn't have the extra funds that they had the previous 2 years, so they reverted back to our original payment. That's, how I understand it. And if anybody knows more, please teach me, I guess.
Sounds good, and let's keep it back on topic. We're regarding the consent agenda before we move on. Is there any more questions?
Just had a question on that loan for that land. What was the amount of the loan and what is the payment annually?
On which land? Regarding in the consent agenda?
Yeah, you were talking about Shane brought up the loan for the land that was purchased, 28,000 acres. And he talked about the loan that was coming due and not having enough money to pay for that
Okay,
payment. So I'm just wondering, what is the total amount of the loan and what is the annual payment?
we can direct that to Shane. I'm not sure what,
Mantyh, if we could get that, information from Kim and provide it at the next council meeting, that'd be great. The amount of the loan that we have, the payments that we have to make, the cuts that came through, the 10% and what that looks like. So we can get that information out to the band members. Thank you for that question. Good question.
You do have a hand raised online, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead. And this is regarding the consent agenda there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So you were consenting about Ishko Day and stuff. You guys gonna provide a profit loss to the band members anytime soon? And then my second question is, hello?
Yes, go ahead for your second question.
The 1854 treaty payment, is there a way you can actually run a report for us every year? My understanding is it's based off of hunting and fishing licenses sales. So it'd be nice to know the total amount of hunting and fishing sales and the actual wordage in the whatever it is, the bill that signifies how much the band members are supposed to get. Robert Moyer is saying it's common knowledge, but it seems like everyone's a little confused on how they formulate the amount of money we get each year. Because you think it would fluctuate, So do you have that knowledge right now of how the state formulates our payment?
I believe it was posted on our Boys for Band of Chippewa Instagram and Facebook, the breakdown of the total that we got. And
It is.
division of how many band members we have. And
Is that on the website too? I noticed I don't think the meeting was even shared on the Boys Fort website also.
okay. All right, so it looks like we have some concerns about the communication of how much money we get or how we're dividing it amongst the band members and how much we're getting from the state and how they figure out how much they're going to give to us. Is that the question I'm kind of getting there, Darren? Like you want to figure out the
Yeah,
numbers of
I'd like to
fishing
know
and
the
licenses?
actual, I'd like to actually know the law behind the 1854 monies.
Okay, yeah, that is interesting. I'm sure we can get together and
And
get
the
that kind of
profit and
information for
loss from
everybody.
Ishkode. You know, we're still waiting for that. Wasn't provided the first meeting about Ishkode. Does anybody know the profit and loss?
I'm not sure if that's going to be disclosed in this meeting right here, but we do have a financial meeting, and I'm not sure if Ishkode is included in that financial meeting,
I'm not sure if it will,
or is that just RTC?
no, it's going to be, the information regarding the enterprises in Fortune Bay.
Okay,
So it's going to be, some audit information and things like that. And I just don't believe that Ishkode has enough financial information right now to present. But, we can check.
How
with,
many months has
Fortune Bay.
Ishkode been in operation?
Just roughly a little over 5 months, I believe.
Okay, so we have 5 months of business, but zero profit and loss. Is that what you're saying, Miranda?
No, that is not what I said.
sounds
Okay.
good. Those are some good questions there, Darren. We'll get back to them. Is that regarding the consent agenda?
Thanks for trying to answer my questions.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, what time is it? Oh, no, okay, next item on the agenda is Will Mantyh. AnnaMarie Hill. You can come up to the table.
How's that? Here I am. Bonjour, good morning. AnnaMarie Hill, Red Lake Nation. Miigwech for having us speak today. I am the person that is working with the University of Minnesota as the engagement and outreach and strategy person. And I've been with this project and that's, he'll introduce himself. That's Dr. Will Mantyh, and we call him Dr. Will. So that's what we call it. And so Dr. Will and I and a group of us have been doing this Alzheimer's research. It is medical research. So this is different. And I have, in my lifetime, I have always done roles in I was MIAC executive director for 10 years. I have been a government affairs person, lobbyist. So I've heard all of the things about how our people are not represented in data, and data is important. And if we don't have data, we don't get funding. And that's how it comes down. And so if we aren't included, also research has always been a difficult thing to do. And there's a history there too as well. So I've been doing this work. I work with a marvelous team. We came into Boys Fort, represented here, very interested in Alzheimer's dementia. We're very interested. Kathy Shavers, Chair Shavers, helped us get started. MCT fully approved us. And everything that we do and every move we make is approved by the council. So what we're here to do today is there's a new publication coming out, and that goes throughout the world. And before we put that out, we want to make sure that it's done right. So it goes through, it's written, goes through me to review, goes through your attorney, goes through your health director, and then it comes to you for approval. And that's the process that we have. And I'm always here for you to answer any questions, to be the contact person. And I probably said a lot more because I wanted you to get going. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Will to you. And he is one of the finest people I have ever met, and I'm honored to work with him.
All right, can you hear me okay? Sorry that I'm presenting virtually today. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Chairman and council members. It's a true pleasure. I always love coming up to your beautiful tribal nation, and I'm actually bummed out that I'm not experiencing the beauty of Bois Forte. As AnnaMarie Hill said, we are Alzheimer's researchers. We had the great fortune of partnering with your tribal nation about 4 years ago. And as AnnaMarie mentioned, we're interested in Alzheimer's disease and dementia, and specifically making sure that new discoveries in Alzheimer's and dementia benefit Native communities. And one of the journals that we're hoping to publish with is on information that we collected with your tribal nation. And this is information we collected at Net Lake and at Lake Vermilion, and also at the urban office in Minneapolis. And we're looking at a new Alzheimer's disease blood test. So this is something that's able to diagnose Alzheimer's disease with a simple blood test, and is one of the biggest advances in our field. The problem, though, is that within that blood test, there's a genetic test called APOE4. And that gene, the APOE4 gene, we're finding is actually not so much of a genetic risk factor in Native populations. In other words, it looks like Native Americans are protected against the normal bad effect of the APOE4 gene. And the reason that's important is because these new blood tests, they use the APOE4 gene to tell someone whether or not they have Alzheimer's. So if this data was not published, it's highly possible that if you're a Native American and you get this blood test and you have the APOE4 gene, the blood test will say you've got Alzheimer's disease, when in fact there's a protective factor in Native communities that protect against the bad effect of APOE4, meaning that they're actually not going to have Alzheimer's disease with this blood test result. So we don't know what that protective factor is, but it is important for making sure that these blood tests are not misdiagnosing Native patients who are seeking more information on whether they have Alzheimer's or not. So that's the general information we're hoping to publish. And as AnnaMarie mentioned, the number one thing in our project is making sure that Bois Forte has ultimate ownership and ultimate decision-making over the data. And we're acutely aware of historical abuses that have happened to tribal communities in the past with researchers. And so again, we're highlighting that before we do anything and disseminating this in a public domain, seeking your feedback and seeking your approval today. As AnnaMarie mentioned, we go through a protocol where this is first approved by your tribal attorney, Jeff Holz, and then also by your tribal medical director, Dan Rabidou. And we're very thankful for their time and effort looking at this paper, and we're thankful that they approved it. And now we're basically seeking your approval as well if you find it to be suitable. Again, thank you so much for having us partnering with you on this project. I really look forward to being up there in person next time. And I'll stop there. I know you have a very busy agenda. And of course, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those. Miigwech.
Mr. Mantyh, I want to say my name is Perry Drift, District 1 representative. I met you 2 years ago when you were conducting this study. And I just want to say it's really cool to see your research. And I've been waiting for 2 years. We were in the KBFT radio station discussing it. And it was shortly after I got my language game boards done with my grandmother. So I showed you some of those, what I was working on. You were showing me what you were working on. And I want to just say thank you for putting time into this community. And as a band member who had a grandparent suffer from Alzheimer's, I just want to say thank you for your work.
Miigwech, thank you for your comments. And I definitely want to check out your board game. I know it's a smash hit and it's part of the Ojibwe language revitalization. It looked pretty fun. And I've got 2 toddlers at home, and I think it's about time that they start playing board games with us. So you'll probably be hearing from me for an order for your board game.
Miigwech.
I'll move to approve.
Move to approve by Robert, the approval of the publication of the scientific paper about Alzheimer's research. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Perry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? All right, motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an extremely rewarding experience. Big wish.
Next on the agenda is Amy Mason with a discussion. Well, we might take a break right now, huh? Or is Amy online?
I'm online. Can you see me, hear me? I apologize, I'm online today. And I'll go through my requests. So good morning, thank you very much for having me on the agenda. So I have some opportunities to have some free technical assistance since we've been struggling with some of our grant funding and being able to do some of these projects through some grant opportunities that have kind of come and gone or been pulled back. I do have some opportunities to accomplish tasks with free technical assistance. So the first one is tied to our solar project, and this would be working with KLJ, and they have received grant funding from MPCA to provide free technical assistance tied to environmental and climate work for tribes. So what we would be doing with them is working, we would be working to identify and delineate the boundaries of all aquatic resources within the proposed solar farm area. And then the second thing that we actually did add to this after a conversation with this group and with Chris Holm, our DNR director, is that we also added provide assistance in consultation with BIA on the NEPA requirements and initiating Section 7 ESA consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So this costs us nothing, but it provides us the information we need about that site to determine whether or not we can actually build the solar farm there. So are there any questions tied to that opportunity?
Not on my part. How about any of the other council?
Okay, the second opportunity that I'm currently pursuing, and I have a meeting set up on August 20th with WSB. Again, they've received grant funding from MPCA to work with tribes tied to environmental and climate work. And so the meeting I have set up on August 20th is to see if we can work out project scoping to do solar feasibility. This organization worked with Shakopee to do a 15 building solar feasibility study for their tribal nation. And so in order to pursue our solar projects and any attempts to do solar on buildings and whatnot, we really need to understand what size systems and what that capability is. So this is that first step. And I have a lot of opportunities to continue to pursue some solar funding, but without having the feasibility and knowing what that is, I can't move on those grants. So this would allow us to start planning for that, apply for the grants, and have a good idea of what those systems potentially could cost us. So again, this would be something that wouldn't cost us anything to do. And then next up, with our work through Tribal Council for Industry Transformation, we can do some free assistance with the National Renewable Energy Lab and with Seneca Environmental, who are tied to this council as well. and offering their abilities and their services. And so what we would be looking at is exploring and citing development of utility scale renewable energy resources that, instead of using to offset energy costs specifically, would actually be scoped to become income generators to support programming and services for Bois Forte. And then the other part was Seneca Environmental, and part of my conversation with them would be to work with their tribal utility authority to start looking at the potential for us to at least put the paperwork together for what a tribal utility authority could look like for Bois Forte. With the tribal utility authority, what that does is it allows you to purchase your energy wholesale instead of retail, which can save you 10 to 20% on your energy costs. So it's at least worth pursuing. I know Fond du Lac has already got theirs in place. Red Lake has one in place. Grand Portage is in process. So we need to kind of at least see how that could look for Bois Forte and what that potential is. It is not something that you start today and it will be finished in 6 months. So this one is going to take a lot of planning and a lot of thought. But I want to ensure that we have something in place for long-term planning for what that could look like for Bois Forte. And I see a comment from Tony in the chat. How is the council already tied to National Renewable Energy Lab in Seneca? We are tied to them through the work that we are doing with the Tribal Council for Industry Transformation. This council is looking at what there's the potential for green steel opportunities here in our region. And the reason Bois Forte is sitting on that council is to stay in touch with what that project means for our region, as far as what the environmental impacts can be, what the work employment opportunities can be, and then any opportunities to generate business income for Bois Forte. So that's kind of the purpose of sitting on that council, is one, to ensure that the areas that they choose, if they choose to pursue any large-scale industrial projects here tied to Mantyh, which is a project that's happening with the University of Minnesota. If that project does go forward, we want to ensure that environmentally it is a safe project. And like I said, we have been tasked with trying to find ways to reduce our reliance on federal funds. And this is one of those opportunities that we can seek to find ways to fit in. So.
Were you approached by Seneca Environmental? I never heard of this. Where did they come into play?
So Seneca Environmental is tied to the project just because of a skill set that they have, right? So let's say that there is a large industrial complex that gets built. Seneca Environmental has the skill set to bring here that says that if tribal nations wish to own, say, the energy assets for that organization that gets built, Seneca Environmental has that background and that history that says this is the type of agreements that you would want to have in place. This is how you can pursue that. This is how tribal nations can actually own that and benefit and profit from that. So they already do this. And so they're just tied into the project should there be an opportunity going forward. So Red Lake is involved. We are working to bring on additional members from the PACE advisory council that we have and we're part of. So That would include White Earth, Red Lake, Fond du Lac, Grand Portage. So
I'm Millie. I'm from Nut Lake. I have a question. What are you guys proposing to do with Twin Metals? They got that thing to go forward with their mine. Didn't they just get that a couple days ago?
I've not heard an update on Twin Metals, but we do not have any projects with them.
But it's where is this project going to be taking place? Then up here in this area, or is it going to be somewhere else?
So I think that if they were going to build out an industrial complex tied to this project, I mean, this is something that hasn't been done here, but because of the resources and the region that we are in, they're exploring whether or not it's even feasible. I would suspect that this would be somewhere closer to potentially Duluth. I don't think it'll be like right here, but I think that it has the potential to be Duluth, potentially a little bit north, but it's the access to water, it's the access to rail, it's the access to people. From a green iron standpoint, it's the mining. So it's the region itself. So they haven't identified a site because they're not there. They're not there in the process. This is all just kind of a big feasibility. Could this be something that this area can develop? So.
Well, my concern is if Twin Metals mine does go ahead with theirs, and then you guys are doing what kind of effect is both of those projects going to have on the water and this whole area? I know right now that other one it's south of the Laurentian Divide, but and everything, but it in some way or another it's all going to affect Lake Superior at some point, isn't it? Because that's the way the water flows.
Yes.
One of the areas. That's all. I just want to know if you guys are looking at that kind of stuff, or if you guys are already aware, because they posted on the internet that Trump approved that Twin Metals, they're going ahead with it.
I'll look at the project for Twin Metals because I know that they're permitting. The last time that I was involved in looking at anything tied to their project, their permits were up for review and things were not going well. So I'll see what the update is on that. And like I said, for this project and for the reason that we're even involved in this is to ensure that concerns like water, the environment itself, everything is kind of being looked at and scoped at the same time. So that's why the tribal nations are involved and why they have their own council. And so it's, we didn't want to not be on the council. I'll just say that. Because I don't want to have a project that comes up here and then all of a sudden you're on the back side of that and you never had the opportunity to have input. So.
What action are we looking for action on this discussion here?
So
Or
the
is
only
it just
action that the only action I'm looking for is just to, one, bring this to your attention and to ensure that you would have no concerns with me pursuing these free opportunities.
It sounds good. I'm gonna have to meet with you, Amy. There's some concerns I have about one of these issues you're bringing up. I'm just making sure that we're not trying to let mining get a back door in through Boyce Fort.
Sure.
Thank you.
Amy, quick question. There's no financial ties associated with this, like indirect cost?
No, there's no cost to us. The first two, that funding, the grant funding went to these agencies. And they are required, in order to use that funding, they have to work and provide free technical assistance to tribal nations.
And also,
And-
no grant match, correct?
There is no grant match. There is nothing like that. It's free technical assistance. And like I said, with the NREL and the Seneca environmental, that's tied to resources that are available to us should we wish to pursue them, because we're working with them on a project anyway. And so bringing value to members of the council is part of why they're sitting on that council as well. Yeah,
Okay,
no
thank you for that.
buy-in, there's nothing in particular. All it is if we've got something that we can provide you assistance with, or that you're exploring anyway, then let us, if you need it, let us help you with it. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Much appreciated. At this time, we're going to end this discussion. We have a prior engagement and we're going to take a recess for approximately an hour and a half, probably 2 hours, just to be safe. Say hour? Okay, we'll take a recess for about an hour, approximately an hour. At 9:54 a.m.
Oh, Pete, I found some information regarding your question. Last year, the per capita payment amount for the 2024, the amount was 1,280. And the date of the per capita back then was August 9, 2024. So you can see the huge difference between the two. And that was posted on the Boys for Tribal Government website's Facebook page. Thank you.
Funding for elder meals. Are you familiar with more of the Board of Aging?
Enough to be dangerous sometimes.
Okay. Why, I had spoken with somebody who,
Leonard Gizik.
yes, and he was letting me know that there's like 4 different pots of funds to grab money out of, and we're only getting it out of nutrition.
Yes.
So that's something,
So there's a match. So we would, if we took the other ones, it's like $5,000-ish.
yeah.
Plus there's a match to it. And plus you have to buy their Peer Place module and put all the information in for the state. And the Peer Place module is about $800 a year. So all that accounting work, plus all our work for less than $4,000, not. So I
Okay.
know he acts like it's a lot of money, but it is not. And it's a lot of work.
I see. So it's something
So
that we'd have
we're
to
still
discuss, right?
providing all of those services. Cause they're like, homemaker, referral information, elder services. We provide all those services,
Okay,
but it's just a lot of, administrative tape to jump through. So we're focusing on some bigger funding pots to provide those services instead.
okay. So let me not derail you and let's
Okay.
talk what we came here for today.
Okay, so this is funding, it's called actually Title III funding, and we've received it for years. We used to get it through the MCT, Minnesota Chippewa Tribe, and then the administration transferred back to DHS, I think, for the last 2 years, and we've been getting funding from them. And now Red Lake has taken over the tribal area, so it's Minnesota MIA, Minnesota Indian Agency on Aging. And so Red Lake has taken over the administration part of that. So now this grant is from Red Lake. So it's $80,750. There's $47,500 of that requires a 15% match, which we're using the E&P vehicles to match that. So the gas, insurance, the purchase of the vehicles to meet that match. So we're not using health funds, we're not using any other funds for that. The services will provide congregate and home delivered meals. And then there's also a tiny portion of $1,250 that is for ALS, which is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Currently, we don't have anyone that has that diagnosis that we serve. So I think we're going to use it for some education.
Okay.
So. Questions? So the grant is supposed to run January 1st through the end of December, the calendar year. But because Red Lake is new, it has taken this long to actually get the grant agreement. And so the date on this, I think, was 6/30. So nope, June 1st, 2025, or the date that it's signed. So yeah. Questions?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for the presentation. When you're talking about a 50% match and then how does that work with the indirect cost? Is Kim online?
I think we pay the indirect cost when we pay those services through, so say we pay insurance on the vehicle, we pay the indirect match there. So we probably wouldn't pay it twice.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that, it's not an expense to the tribe, and because we really got to start watching the money now, and then for the next 3 years or so. Thank you.
The match amount is $7,125, which will easily be covered with
Well, you're paying insurance and gas and everything.
Yep.
You're not giving them.
oil changes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Costs that would actually just be normal occurrences anyway.
Correct.
You're able to apply that towards the match percentage. All right, that's good. Ask for a motion to approve this contract.
Move to approve.
Approve.
Nope, second.
Moved by Tara, second by Robert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? All right, motion carried. Thank you.
Miigwech.
Next on the agenda is Teresa Drift with resolution number 18-2026 MHFA Housing Trust Fund Grant.
Got the right button on the first try. Good morning. This resolution is for the Housing Trust Fund Grant, which is our second, we first received this in 2023. This is a pot of money that helps pay a rental subsidy for a number of households in the Twin Cities. And this is a 2-year amount, the $161,000. And we've got a number of families that are utilizing this service. And it's been really helpful to keep those households housed. Any?
Awesome. You've had this grant before?
Yeah, this is a renewal contract.
Awesome. How many houses were you, or how many households were you able to help last year?
Currently, we have 4 households enrolled in the program. We hope to, with case management, be able to expand that a little bit.
Okay.
Get higher incomes so that subsidies reduced. The amount of subsidy paid per household is reduced so that more people can benefit from this.
Okay. Does council have any other questions regarding resolution 18-2026 before I ask for a motion?
Yes, I got a ton of questions. No, just kidding. It says here that, your application was one of 50 that was selected for approval. I must say that's awesome.
Thank you.
You know, and, good work, and, I move to approve.
Moved by Shane to approve,
Second.
second by Perry. All in favor? Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Next on the agenda is Wendy Drift. She has an amendment to a lease with Grand Avenue Development Company. So it looks like they're amending their lease to stay another year instead of renegotiating another contract. Is she here?
Yep, I'm here. Good
Oh,
morning.
hey, Wendy.
Hi. Yep, that's correct. It's just an amendment to the lease rather than completing a whole nother lease agreement. It just extends our current lease agreement with a increase of 3% to our current monthly rent.
Which only equates to like $60, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or 40?
$60 a month
Okay.
and 720 for the year.
All right, if there's no questions, I ask for a motion to approve.
I got a question for Dan. You know, with your one of your, I think so, one office staff member from your department works there?
Correct.
And are they able to help pitch in for rent and all that?
Yeah, we're paying through the indirect cost pool right now and looking to get the approval for the 105L lease,
Okay,
which would then be separate funds from the indirect cost pool.
that was my next question. Now, with the 105L approval, that would basically supplement the payment, and then you guys wouldn't have to pay anything, correct?
Correct.
And
Well, the 105L comes to health. Health would then still make the payment, but it would be a different funding source.
okay, all right. And Wendy, do you feel comfortable staying there for another year, or do you think that we're outgrowing it already?
I think we could be here in another year, but if we look to move, I would look to expand our space because we are kind of outgrowing it already.
Okay, I think that's something that we should keep in mind as we move forward, maybe by next spring, and start looking for something else if this place is gonna be too small for us. But
I also, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we do expand, then I would also like to look into billable services coming out of the Duluth Urban Office.
Awesome, awesome. I move to approve.
Moved by Shane to approve,
Second.
second by Perry. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any silent? All right, motion carried. Thank you, Wendy.
Miigwech.
All right, next on the agenda is Pam Parson with the compliance update.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Pam. How you doing today, Pam?
Very good. How is everybody there?
Yes, we're ready.
Good. All right. So some of the things that we're working on, my greatest concern, of course, is cybersecurity. So right now we're reviewing and ensuring we have correct policies and procedures in place for the clinic. And then we're also was asked to be on the RTG cybersecurity team. So real happy that we kind of got the whole reservation tribal government focusing on cybersecurity awareness. So real happy with that. Some of the other things that I'm working on is moving forward on the revenue audit for HHS. Right now I'm waiting for them to request different reports out of our Epic system. And then we'll be working on that. So hopefully by next month we'll have I'll have more of an update on that. Again, working on the employee HIPAA training. It was scheduled for the 19th, but there was a room issue, so I'll be rescheduling that for a later date. And then we'll have one more in October. I'm gonna probably adjust that from a Tuesday also, just so I can get the make it a different day so some additional providers can attend in-person training. And then the compliance committee right now is moving forward with the policy and procedure reviews for 2025. So that's in progress, so we're working on that. Again, top 3 risks that I'm monitoring right now is our billing and our coding. We need to ensure that we're compliant. We need to ensure there's separation of duties for all of our billing staff. That's going to really help Amanda, and she's working real closely with me on that. Also revenue reporting from Epic. Trying to learn how to do reports out of Epic. So Christy, Amanda, and I can do revenue reporting to ensure Dan just has everything he needs as far as reporting out of Epic. And then the last thing is the employee education on phishing schemes and ransomware. Just because people tend to be our weakest link, and education's how we can avoid anything bad happening in that area. So working with Eddie and Randy on doing employee education on the phishing schemes and ransomware, and not having any of our employees falling for that. So I feel like I do have all the resources I need to fulfill my responsibilities. I do have access to the people, information, and the data. I feel like I do have sufficient authority to do my job, and people do take my concerns seriously. It feels like in the reservation tribal government, compliance is becoming a big thing. So I know that we have Ishkade has compliance, Fortune Bay has compliance, healthcare has compliance. So I'm really pleased to see compliance going over the whole reservation, just because I think it's really, really important. Let's see. And I am included in different meetings, strategies, or any additional initiatives. I'm included in all them meetings. So do you guys have any questions of me?
I do have some questions that I have for you.
Okay.
What is your greatest concern?
Well, I already answered that, Carlos.
I was
really,
wondering, I was listening to you speak, and it's like, those are the questions I'm supposed to ask her.
Well, I was waiting for you, and when you didn't respond, guess what I do?
You just took
Pick it
charge
up.
there. Okay, no worries.
pick it up.
Sounds good. All right, I'm trying to think of which one you didn't answer here. Do you have the sufficient authority to do your job?
Yes.
You have access to the people, information, and data that you need?
Yes, I feel like I do.
And do people listen to you, and are your concerns taken seriously?
Yes.
And it did sound like you are included in meetings to discuss new strategies, projects, and initiatives. And do you have the resources you need to fulfill your responsibilities? Money,
Yes.
staff, and tools. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you already went over the top 3 risks you're monitoring and issues you're working on right now.
Yep.
Sounds good. Next, I was thinking, so next meeting, I'll just start out asking you these questions here.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks, you
Pam.
guys.
All right, next up on the meeting agenda is Nikki Irving with resolution 19-2026, and that's to amend the RTC bylaws to report to the state of the band in March instead of January.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
I'm gonna wait for Shane to remove or to return. Currently on the agenda is resolution 19-2026. It's to amend the RTC bylaws to report to the state of Minnesota and band state of the band in March instead of January. You had a chance to review that. Ask for a motion.
Just to point out, we did, we submitted it for comment in May. We only received a few back, but most of them have been in favor to change it to March.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Shane,
Second.
second by Perry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. All right, next on the agenda is Perry Drift, and he has a statement.
Uju gakna wia gwach bisha kuma nashkibanes insa. Agi kudu janes. Beka. All right. Now I know there's a lot of confusion and speculation as when I decided to forego my ethics hearing committee. So I have a statement prepared here. There was another council member that wanted me to issue the statement to all of them, but from my understanding is, although we are a sovereign nation, I can still exercise my right of freedom of speech. So I just want to speak what I wrote out. And I know some of these words may be hard for people to hear or take in, but I still have to. And I already let the council know that I was going to do this, and they had asked me to do this too. So if I was going to address statements, so. I do not believe the video footage of incident at the Fortune Bay Resort and Casino on April 11th, 2025 should not be released to the Boysport Ethics Committee for the following reasons. Per the Boysport Code of Ethics Ordinance number 46-2021, it clearly states in section 410, burden of proof, in quotation marks, at the hearing, the complainant shall have the burden of providing clear and convincing evidence that the subject of the complaint violated a standard of conduct. This clearly indicates that the 2 individuals that filed the Ethics Committee complaint on myself would be responsible for presenting their case and evidence at their hearing that was held on July 26, 2025. Section 411 of the Code of Ethics states, and I quote, "After the hearing, the Tribal Ethics Committee shall issue a finding of facts and recommendations for final disposition to the RTC. Per this ordinance, the committee shall make their determinations from the evidence that was provided by the complainants on July 26, 2025. Nowhere in the ethics ordinance wording does it state that the committee members can or should seek out additional information and or evidence regarding the complaint filed against the RTC council member, myself. This committee is clearly violating the ordinance and overstepping their boundaries. I would also like to remind the tribal council members that they issued a statement via Voice for Tribal Government Facebook page that stated due to the private Voice for Data Privacy Ordinance that this video footage will not be available for viewing to the band members and the general public. This will open civil lawsuits against all individuals involved in obtaining the video footage by not getting permission from persons or person that are in the video. I am requesting that this request from the Ethics Committee be denied.
That was your statement, Perry? I assume we'll cut you off there.
Yes, that's all, Chairman Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. And that was a statement by Perry Drift. Next on the agenda is Shane would like to add or have a discussion about vice chairmanship to the agenda.
Yes, regarding me being the vice chairman of the tribal council, I am stepping down from that role as the vice chairman and to inform the tribal council that they will need to select a new vice chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm unaware of the process, so if the seat is open now, I'm not sure if we need to have an election now. Or if you're able to do it, I just gotta check and see what we gotta do from here. If there's a process that needs to be done to fill that seat.
When I was voted in as the vice chairman, it took the council to approve it, so it'll take the council to approve my stepping down just as the vice chairman. I'm not stepping down as District 1 representative. I'm still the District 1 representative. I'm just stepping down as the vice chairman. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just unaware of the process because I know that usually that is after the regular elections, and I was in a special election, so that seat didn't come up. So I'm not aware of that process now. Okay, I'll have to look into it. Not in election, but
Chairman, this is Tara.
Tara. Yes, go ahead.
And Shane, I think that would be good to have in writing also. That might be a good measure. Thank you.
Sounds good. So on the agenda item is the vice chairmanship, and you're announcing that you'd like to step down. I do. Sure, let's just get it in writing and then so we can get the proper process in order. Okay, sounds good. And then if I'm wrong and we find out later that, we just need to make a poll, we can just do a poll real quick and then we can find a new vice chair, okay? Just want to make sure I do it the right way. All right, so if I don't think there's any more need of discussion than that, you'd like to step down and we're going to figure out how to do it the right way. And then next on the agenda is the wild rice update. And I believe Miranda has a report from Doc Chris Holmes.
I do, Mr. Chairman, and it's pretty lengthy, so I will read it. This was submitted by Chris Holm, our Director of Natural Resources, on August 5th. And it states, wild rice has 4 classically defined growing stages. Those are number 1, germination and submergent leaf development. Number 2, floating leaf stage. Number 3, emergent growth to flowering and pollination. And 4, kernel formation and ripening. Germination depends on water and sediment warming to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the spring. So germination can be delayed if the spring is particularly cold or ice melt is delayed. Germination and submerged leaf to floating leaf stage can take up to 4 to 6 weeks. For Nett Lake, this germination happens typically late May to early June. Floating leaf stage to emergent stem stage occurs when submerged leaves reach water surface and energy production in the plant completely transitions from stored seed reserves to photosynthesis energy production. This stage transition is the most variable and typically occurs over a 4 to 8 week period, July to August, and again varies depending on water temperature and energy inputs to the plant. Emergent stems produce flowers and pollinate in August, and seeds set and ripen from mid-August into September, weather heating degree days allowing. Sorry. Each stage has its own danger points. Rice and flower/pollination stage, where Nett Lake rice is at currently, is less subject to impact due to water level changes, but consistent rain during this period will reduce pollen dispersal and result in empty kernels. Wind is always a wild card in terms of potential impact. Nett Lake rice is currently entering the flowering/pollination stage, and so can be generally expected at this time to mature as per usual in early to mid-September. As warm weather wanes in September, growth and maturity will also slow. So the last weeks of August are critical to finish the seed set and begin seed maturation. Maturity. Sorry. Rice at less development is also still growing as well, but this rice will not likely make it to full maturity by time growing season ends. If we consider a full effective growth season from germination to harvest of 16 weeks from mid-May to mid-September, and since Nett Lake rice is currently entering flower/pollination at late July to early August, then Nett Lake rice is approximately 2/3 or 66% accomplished in its growth curve. But not all Nett Lake rice achieves the same level of maturity at the same time, and weather conditions and heat are always unpredictable variables that ultimately drive this process. A review of the report on Rice Lake development published by 1854 on August 1st shows that rice development stage is widely variable again this year across lakes assessed. River rice, Tamarack, Moosehorn, Island River, St. Louis River, all reporting standing rice in flower. Vermilion River to the north reports standing and starting to flower, as is Nett Lake. Lake rice in those 1854 reviewed lakes to the south, Turpela, Wolf, Breda, is standing and starting to flower. Many of the 1854 reviewed lakes, Big Rice, Little Rice, Round Island, Stone, Lehman, Tomala, Cloquet, among others, are behind in development and have sparse to no rice coverage. That concludes the report submitted by Chris Holm.
Thank you. Was there anything like missing from that report that you'd like to see next time? Anybody in the council?
The only thing I'd like to add is that, with this report, thank you for that report. But I think that we, as a community, as a tribe, as people, need to get back to doing things the traditional way. And make an offering to that lake the way we used to. Now, the stories that Gene used to share with us as a community, the ceremonies that we actually did, and the story that he talked about, I remember specifically about I think he called it a Jinjakus, the little men, and how a shirt was offered to that little being. Because we've got to take care of our lake, not only physically, but also spiritually. And I think that once we start really doing that, I think that, our lake will become better and better. The community will become better and better. Because it was looking pretty scary there for a while at the beginning of the summer when it didn't look like we're going to have any rice at all. You listen to some of the elders sharing their concerns, and that hearing them saying that we got to continue to pick up the old traditional way of doing things. And I agreed with them. I said, yes, that's absolutely right. To take care of our lake, not only physically, but spiritually. Neil, much.
I'd like to jump in on that, Shane. I'm not attacking. When should we do the ceremony? We should actually plan this out and let's not just say we should. Let's all right, what's the date then? Let's pick a date now and start planning it. Because I think that's a really good idea.
I have something to say. This is Tara.
Yep, go ahead, Tara.
We've always done the ceremonies all the way back from when Gene Goodsky did them. I was the DNR director. And I'm not really sure, but I think Corey did them also, or the community stepped up. So that practice hasn't gone out. It hasn't been obsolete. And I don't recall the council ever really attending those. So maybe that's a practice that we need to start also. I know that we've attended the water ceremony and the lake ceremony, but not the actual, spiritual beginning of the rice, when we honor that, or the first pick. I know we've done that also at the DNR. So to say that we aren't following, that's not entirely true. Miigwech.
To clarify, yes, ceremonies are done, but not the way they used to be done. There used to be ceremonial offerings that were taken out across the lake and put out. I myself have done that on a few occasions, taken out a specially made blanket and taken out across the lake and put it out with the Bugitcha gun offerings. That type of ceremony is not being done. The regular ceremonies are being done, and that's good. But the traditional ceremonies of the offerings of the blankets and stuff being taken out across the lake, that's not being done. Thank you.
I have one thing just to add. Sorry, Shane, after you're done. Another thing that wasn't done too was we were supposed to smudge the entire RTG building, and we were also supposed to hold a ceremony for them bears that were killed. And there's a much other things too. I'll just point it out, in terms, Vern Adams, he was just here, he had said it. Gichiyao Gagi Gadu Dapana Sama Mijibiji. What he was saying was he was acknowledging that big water spirit right behind you, Lake Vermilion. Jibiji is a water panther. So these certain ceremonies that were done in the old way, Shane is correct. Miguel, you're correct. But it comes from a lack of, and I'll never point fingers at anybody or anything, but it just comes from a lack of maybe a lot of our elders have passed on and they didn't pass on those traditions. So, but just so I can give the public some information, some old background, them water spirits, they like offerings. They like offerings of silver. They like offerings of tobacco. They like offerings. I'll just talk about it. My grandma's ceremony, she uses it sounds really off-putting, but a miniature of alcohol, like that alcohol alcohol actually had healing properties before what's we're in current today. That actually was used in certain ceremonies, and that's what Shane doesn't want to dive into too much, but that's what he's talking about. They call them, you know, the gate Anishinaabe, Gikudu, or no, Gikudu, how they spoke, how they talked, how they did things. We're not saying anybody's doing anything wrong or incorrect. It's just, I think it could be looked at a little more in depth, and that's all. You know.
I just wanted to say that it was like 2 weeks ago that they had a ceremony down at the lake and feasted the lake. And they had the drum down there and offerings and prayers down there. And in September, they do have a Miigwech powwow. And so I think the community is doing a lot. And Squidge does a lot of that, trying to bring that back to our people. But, and I know the ceremonies you're talking about, and they're individual prayer and offerings from individuals that go out and do that. That's something that you can't tell an elder that you should go and do that. It comes from in here where they go and do that. And so I agree that we should do that more. But like Perry talks about, a lot of that is gone with the elders that have passed. And so unfortunately, it's the next generation, you know, that really isn't aware of that. And that's why it's lacking right now. But maybe some education should be done on that. Maybe you should talk about that on your Facebook page and let people know, remind them, you know, and if they don't know how, offer to teach them that.
Just for clarification, I didn't tell an elder to do that. An elder was telling me to do that and brought that to my attention. The difference between the way the ceremonies were done back then as to now, and how we're doing it is still good. But to do it the old traditional way and making out the offerings like they used to. Thank you.
Carlos, may I speak? Right here.
Yes.
Would you? I think this is a good point because I agree with what Doris and Shane and Perry said, is that a lot of our elders have passed on, and I don't think these the older traditional teachings have come forward. And what's really hard is for even myself, you know, with the boarding schools and stuff, we lost all of that. And so I myself don't even know my own culture and language totally. You know, we all have to relearn it again. What can we as a community, as a tribe do to try to get these traditional teachings out there? Because like Shane mentions, we need to go back to that. We don't know what that is. And so it's hard for us to do these things because it was wiped out of our children and out of our elders passing now without that knowledge going. So where do we find, or how do we know about these traditional teachings? Because I've heard different types of teachings. Everybody has their own style or way of doing things. So it'd be nice to actually have somewhere that we could go to learn those teachings. And I know that the community is doing a lot with ceremonies and everything, but it's kind of nothing. And I don't know if this is even appropriate, but it's not documented anywhere. And so it's you do it by teaching, telling somebody here, there, whatever, and it doesn't get to a lot of people. And so how do we do that? But I think it's something that's really needed, is to go back to our traditional ways, you know, even our elders in the community and that type of thing, because we really need that. And we need to go back to the way we were. And so not with technology and everything, but in a good way. So I agree, but you know, how do we find out about those traditional teachings from way back when? I mean, Jessie was great. I mean, I remember Jessie, Shane's grandma, and she was a very highly respected individual. And she had a lot of teachings. And I know that when I was on council that Shane would talk about these teachings, and he has a lot of information or education from his grandma. And like my grandma didn't speak anything because she was, you know, at the boarding school in Vermilion. So I knew nothing. And so if there's some way that the council or a program or something can come up with an idea on how we can learn these teachings and know when they are and what they're supposed to be done, what you're supposed to bring, how you're supposed to present, who can't attend, you know, because there are some things where some women can't attend, for example. So we all need to relearn that. So how do we do that? That's just my question and my comment. Miigwech.
That's excellent comments, Kathy. I think we all as a tribe need to realize, you know, what we want to do. What do we want to do? Do we want to move forward together and reconnect with our culture? Then we have to put down our differences and realize, you know, we got to come together, and that's the only way it's going to work, is if we're working together as a community. If that's what we want to save as our community, we have to come together and put our differences aside.
There are quite a few comments. Do you want me to read through them?
Yes.
So the first one's from Ashley Goodsky. I once questions or question. I'm not sure exactly what she's saying there. What signs do we look for to start doing these ceremonies? The seasons are changing, for example. Our spiritual from the north are saying they start having powwows or ceremonies indoors when the leaves start changing. And then a bear ceremony was done, and it was done at the opening of the bear sanctuary. I was talking with an elder who volunteers at the sanctuary, and if we can keep this connection going, I've been in connection with Jenna Lee about keeping this connection going. This opening ceremony has been happening ever since I could remember. And Pam Parsons says, bring Billy Blackwell for these teachings. Shannon Gishik said, or Ricky Defoe. David Morrison Jr., council should set a date and share these teachings.
Like that idea.
Not sure who this is. Is Shane willing to share the teachings he learned? Tony Wake 'em Up. Vern Adams has these teachings. Karen has offered to teach us the lake ceremony. And sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Gajing Nuguk. I don't know. That's how they have their name in there. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but Billy currently comes to our res and conduct ceremonies. Billy learned from Nasi, someone from our own community. Vern works with Billy too.
I think that'd be, if we do get Billy Blackwell down here from Grand Portage, it would be very important to record him. To sit down and have him share the various teachings that he has about Bowy's Fort and that lake. Because he used to come down here in the 70s, and he used to sit with that Nasi Menor. And he'd go out and stay with Nasi, and Nasi would give him just a bunch of teachings. He just teaching after teaching, and Billy hung on to that knowledge. And to get Vern Adams here, to have him share as well. You know, and record them, sit down with their phones and record them. You know, so that stuff can continue on. We're all not going to be here. We're all going to be going eventually. We're all getting older. You know, and what needs to be done for, you know, funeral services and all that, preparation, stuff like that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Millie.
Millie again. Excuse me, everyone here. Well, a couple of months ago, we had our elder talking circle meeting, and I can't remember exactly why we were talking about it, but I mentioned having Billy Blackwell do some stuff, and then a lot of the elders that were on the Vermilion side, and they went through the teams, and they objected to having Billy Blackwell come over, and I don't know what happened. I wasn't aware of any of it, but I was told later what this person thought was the problem. But so I just wanted to make the council and everybody aware that there were some elders that objected to Billy teaching. Now, I don't have a problem with learning from him. I mean, I know him. I went to school with him. I know all the people that he talked to, and he talked to my parents and my auntie Vera, and so I and I do know he went to Nasi. Now, my family did go to Nasi for a lot of teachings, and I listened to Jessie because I was friends with her daughter, and so a lot of those teachings, a lot of people in the village learned by example because they couldn't talk about it. So I think if a lot of people would just quit thinking about the book learning kind of learning that they've been when they go to school and they got a degree and all that stuff, they need to think back to their childhood. They saw their parents doing things. They know, but they don't trust themselves. So there's also that. So I just wanted to let people know. I mean, I for one, every time I go to the lake, I do all that stuff because I saw people doing it, and I was also told, not only by Jean, but Harry Lightfeather, and there was a few others. My auntie Betty Bonus, and then Harry and Benny also did a lot of teaching. So, I mean, it's not just only one family that does all this stuff. So that's all. You.
Thank you, Millie. Yeah. Leading by example is a good way to put it, and
Jesse's name, that's my wanta. It's my name giver. It was a new Benesi Kabangagi Kudu. Badasimu say away Shanish. A long time ago, my wanta said, "It's show Shane's walking over here." No, just keeping it alive. Sorry.
yeah, and as you've seen online, people would be interested in learning, the story, Shane. So I'd like to hear it. So if we could get a time, get a date, Shane, when you want to tell us his story. Hey, but yeah, no, I'm pretty sure, man. I'd love to hear it, and so will other people. You see it online, So let us know, Shane, when you're ready to share. So that was our wild rice update that kind of got a little curtailed there. It was a good discussion we had on culture that came from wild rice. And next on the agenda is a 2026 financial info reclassification.
So for the August 12th financial meeting that will be held, information was mailed out to band members. So if you haven't received it yet, you should be receiving it soon. But the information that will be provided at that meeting, it is covered under our data privacy ordinance. And so we had Jeff prepare a resolution to reclassify the information that will be provided as, to a kind of like public. So I will read resolution 2026. I'll skip the first two whereas and start with the third. Whereas through resolution 39-2006, the RTC adopted the Boys Fort Data Privacy Ordinance as amended to provide a comprehensive law establishing uniform rules for access to and protection of certain data. And whereas under the Data Privacy Ordinance, the RTC may by formal resolution release data regardless of category under restrictions it deems desirable. And whereas under Section 5, Subdivision 2, and Section 7, Subdivision 2 of the Data Privacy Ordinance, annual budgets and audits of the tribal government and the band's enterprises are deemed partially protected member information available to band members for inspection, provided that they execute a non-disclosure of confidential information agreement. And whereas the RTC has scheduled a financial update meeting for band members on August 12th, 2025, or an alternative date designated by the RTC, at which financial information derived from tribal government and band enterprise audits and budgets will be disclosed. And whereas, consistent with its authority under the Data Privacy Ordinance, the RTC desires to clarify the conditions under which such data will be disclosed at the financial update meeting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the financial information derived from tribal government and band enterprise audits and budgets disclosed to band members at the financial update meeting scheduled for August 12, 2025, or an alternative date designated by the RTC, shall remain partially protected member information under the Data Privacy Ordinance that may be inspected but not copied or otherwise duplicated for band members, provided that band members in attendance shall not be required to execute a non-disclosure confidential information agreement as a condition of viewing such data. So what this resolution is doing is the council, if approved, will allow band members to view the information, hear the information, but not have to sign that non-disclosure agreement.
But it's saying that they can't take pictures of it and stuff also too, right? Yes. Can be expected but not copied or otherwise duplicated.
Inspected, yes, but not copied or otherwise duplicated for band members.
Perfect.
I'd just like to say, I'd like to commend the council with this resolution. And as the council continues to step towards being more transparent with the band members and to start releasing this information is a good thing. We shouldn't be hiding stuff behind closed doors. That way of doing business is not good. It creates too much animosity amongst our band members and not trusting the tribal council. And I think that with this resolution, it'll take a start to bring that wall down. Thank you. Move to approve.
Move to approve by Shane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Perry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Motion carried. Resolution passed. All right, I think that's it for the agenda items. Move to adjourn. Meeting is moved to adjourn by Robert. Are we adjourning? He moved to adjourn. Yeah. Second by Shane. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any silent? Meeting adjourned at 11:56 on August 6, 2025. Good, everyone.